Hello out there, and today we are taking a look at this newly released Spyderco model. This is called the Efficient, and I got this knife about a week ago, and I've been carrying it on and off, using it a whole lot actually when I did carry it. So I wanted to take a few minutes and go over some of the details and some of the really good qualities of the knife and let you know how I feel about it. And this is a really interesting one because it is a budget offering from Spyderco. This is the newest release into their value line of affordable folders. If you've ever owned a Spyderco Tenacious or a Persistent or any of that series, you've had one of the value line knives, and they've been very popular and very, very good for what they are. And this one, I think, is a very, very worthy addition to that series. So taking a look at this knife next to one of the older value knives, this is the Persistent, and you can see that, compared to this knife, the Efficient is not only a completely different design, but it's just a little bit bigger. So I'd say that this is a slightly larger than the Persistent knife, but definitely smaller than the Tenacious if you were looking for a comparison there. In terms of beefiness, the Efficient definitely has the Persistent beat in terms of thickness. So this is just a beefy, nice, hard use type of almost a beater EDC. And that's how Spyderco has marketed it. Definitely not one to be collected, one to be really, really used. And I think it's going to work out really well in that capacity. So getting into the specs to explain why, what we have is a 3-inch blade of 8CR13 MOV blade steel, and it is full flat ground. And I'm not really sure why, but I think that Spyderco's 8CR13 MOV is the best 8CR13 that I've ever used. And it might be because of the full flat grind that we have on this blade and also on the Tenacious series. But it could be what their heat treat is. It could be a number of different things. But I've used 8CR13 MOV from CRKT and Kershaw and a number of other companies. And this one really just takes the cake. They just do a very, very good job with it from Spyderco. And I'm always really happy with the results. Came razor sharp out of the box. I did have to touch it up a little bit, and when I did, it got even sharper than from the factory. So just really happy with how that came out. The blade shape, very utilitarian. What I've heard from a number of people is that it resembles the Native, and in a way it does, just a good for everything type of blade shape. So very happy with that. And then the weight of the knife also lends itself to a good hard use, everyday carry type of knife, because we've got a 4.08 ounce weight. So this isn't a 2.5, 3 ounce knife that is good for light cutting tasks, but not good for the big stuff. I mean, this is a good, beefy, bulky knife that is going to get work done. All right, and moving from the blade back towards the handle, you can see we have G10 handle scales here. Really nice G10 actually too. It is low to medium traction, a little bit heavier traction than the Persistent. And I'll actually bring that knife back so we can get a comparison between the two in terms of what the pattern is on the G10. All right, and I definitely prefer the Efficient here. Just good traction and very, very comfortable also. All right, so other qualities about the knife. We have a liner lock with pretty good thick liners here. All right, we do not have an open frame construction because of this backspacer, but it is open enough that it should be pretty easy to clean, as you can see there. And then we do have a 2-position pocket clip. All right, and this is for tip up only, left or right side. All right, and not really that deep in terms of the carry either. And one thing I will note, I got really excited when I saw this clip because I thought that it was the exact same clip as the Para 3. I'm gonna bring that in real quick just to show you. I thought they were identical and that maybe some custom clips for this would fit on the Efficient as well. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. It's very, very similar, but the screws don't fit, and they don't, they're not interchangeable either. So the holes just aren't the right size. You could do a little bit of custom work to make it happen, but it wouldn't be as easy as just buying a custom like para 3 clip and throwing it on the Efficient. So we'll see if something comes along for that in the future. But for now, just have this clip. Might throw a lanyard on it with the lanyard hole, but we will see about that. All right, other things to look at. Here is the blade centering, just a little bit off. All right. And yeah, I'm not sure if it was off center when I first got it. It's usually something I check, and I just noticed this the other day, so I think it might have to be something that I try to adjust. But there is no rub, and not really a big deal either way, but I should be able to adjust that. All right, so let's talk about the ergonomics. Ergonomically, a very, very comfortable knife to hold in the hand. You can see with the choil right here, and then the way my middle finger and ring finger just wrap around the knife. There's plenty of space and plenty of real estate for someone who would have larger hands than me. But for me, it's perfectly comfortable and really good to use in this grip configuration. Could you use it in this configuration? Yeah, but then if you take a look at the distance between where my finger is and where the start of the cutting edge is, it might just be a little too far. You know, so I don't know that that's really realistic for a lot of tasks. I think for the most part, I will be choked up like this. The one opportunity I would think that this knife has, the one way that I wish it were a little bit better, is I wish that this choil here were just a little bit deeper. You know, so that if I were doing some kind of heavy cutting, I'd have a little bit more protection to make sure that I didn't slip up onto the edge here and cut myself. So, you know, that's just preference. I don't think that it's any kind of huge issue, but just something that I noticed. And also we have some jimping up top here and a little bit down here as well. The jimping is not really impressive. It's functional to an extent, but it is not really deep enough to catch your finger. You can take a look at that. All right, and then here, let me hold this for a quick second, and I'll bring back the persistence, and you can see the difference in the jimping. All right, so a little bit more depth to the persistence, and what that does is just gives you a better grip with the thumb. So jimping isn't great, but it isn't horrible either. It's good to have it, but it isn't the quality that I wish it was. I'm going to stay zoomed in here though, because I want to talk about fit and finish. And I know that there was one sort of negative with the blade centering, but I want to talk about the hardware and just the overall build and quality of construction of the knife. Because one of the things that really stood out to me and that I've been really impressed with so far is just how well put together the materials are. All right, looking at these body screws here, these are T8s, by the way, which is a little bit unique. Most of the time you'll see T6s in the body, but the only T6 screws on this knife are actually for the clip. Everything else is a T8, but you can see the shape of it and how nicely they're formed, but in addition to that, how flush they are. So really nice and flush, and then very flush also the back of the pivot. When you flip to the other side, the pivot itself, really nice and flush in the scales, and that's something that they've done really regularly with the Tenacious series, and I'm just impressed with that. You know, you look at the backspacer, it's not perfect, but it's also better than what you would expect for a budget overseas like $30, $35 knife. You know, it looks really good. So I'm happy with the backspacer. I'm happy with the polish on it. And then one other thing that I want to show you is just the amount of milling you can see in there. You know, and it's not just simple milling. I mean, looking at this point, you know, there's big holes, tiny holes, everywhere that you could mill a small little hole to cut weight, it looks like they did. You know, and every one of these like things that I'm mentioning is a step in the production. And every added step adds cost. And with this case, I mean, there's a lot of added steps that you just don't see cost for. And that's what I'm impressed with. That's what I'm really happy with this knife, is that it seems like there's been a lot of time and thought put into making this as good as it can be without hiking up the price. So impressed overall with what they've done here. All right, lockup is very, very solid. No side to side, no up and down. The liner is very, very sturdy. So no issues there. It does open pretty quickly too with the spider hole. So yeah, I like it a lot. Like it a lot in that regard. I'm trying to think of what else there is to talk about with this one, but I think I've covered, mostly everything. I feel really good about this knife. Feel good about the future of my using it. And, if any of these opinions changes, I'll definitely follow up with you moving forward. Better look at the lockup right here. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to using this heavier and keeping it a part of my EDC rotation. So that's really all I have, guys. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know in the comments down below. But this is, basically the end of the review. One last thing, actually, now that I think about it, that I am going to do is bring out my Spyderco Native, since it is right next to me, just to give you an idea of the similarities, since people mentioned it before. Right, so a little bit of similarity in the blade shape, as you can see. But the thing that I was talking about with the choil is really, really obvious when you look at the Native, at how deep that is. And how the finger just sits in there and it's a lot safer. Whereas this, you can see the shallowness of this choil. So yeah, really glaring, that difference when you have a knife like the Native right next to the Efficient. But anyway, guys, that is the Efficient. Like I said, really happy with it. Love to hear your thoughts on it, or if you're thinking about getting it or not thinking about getting it. So as always, let me know in the comments down below. But that is it for real this time. I'm done. I appreciate you watching, and I will talk with you soon. Take care.